Many of us are familiar with a Gemara that causes some level of conflict for us. There is a Gemara that says that you have a bashert. And many of us are on this trip to find the bashert, and the only bashert. Okay? So as a result of that, I'd like to share with you the Gemara has many different interpretations. And the bashert is at different stages of your life. You might have a different person who is the bashert. Similarly, Margaret Mead, an anthropologist, stated the fact that there are 4 different times when one and their spouse should be developing, which means you have different needs at different ages. And hopefully, as one gets older, they realize that they're a different person than they were when they were much younger. So the basic premise is that those of us that are searching for this one special have to rethink exactly what's taking place. Dating is exclusionary rather than inclusionary. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is many people, when you go out with them, you're already looking at the reason you should not go out with them the second time. Okay? So from the first few minutes you're on the date, you're already figuring, okay, they're missing this, they're missing this, they're missing this, and they're missing this. Well, dating is supposed to be inclusionary, meaning you want to get to know another person. And you bring your checklists that either you have written up or it's in your mind, and this person go and fill into the different boxes that I have. And if yes, okay, maybe you'll do a second date. Maybe you'll do a second date. Many cases, most people are afraid of getting too close to somebody else. Many people are afraid of intimacy, of closeness. Now, I've done certain research which found, for example, that many men who grow up in homes without female siblings have more of a difficult time at times meeting people. Similarly for girls. One of the reasons is that we're looking at this other person as this gold. We're not sure to treat them as a human being with feelings, with emotions, and not everything that that person says has to be taken literally. We have to be open enough to listen. We have to be open enough not to see if they fill our boxes. We have to be open enough to give the person a second chance. And the person I'm referring to is yourself. In many cases, we do not give a second chance for many reasons. One is we're afraid of getting rejected. And it's very, very common that many people who have gone through different stages of life say to themselves, you know what? I want to reject that person before he or she rejects me. I want to be in control. I have a need to be in control of my life. I have a need to be in control of my relationships. I have a need to be in control of everything. That's one of the most guaranteed ways of not ever getting married, or not getting married again, or whatever there is. How many of us put on different faces or different masks when we go on dates? Well, we do our homework, right? How many of us do our homework? Just show me how many of us do our homework regarding who we're going out with? Homework. Well, let me explain. There were 3 things. 1, who the person was, what they like, every possible detective that they could find in the neighborhood. There are certain people that call up, right? There are certain people, believe it or not, in the 40s and 50s that are still interested in finding out how that person did in high school. So they will call the high school principal just to get to know the person and learn about the person. I think that's ridiculous, because hopefully the person that you might be going out with now is not the same person who was 17 or 18 in high school and whatever they were doing there. So people develop over time. Many times we look and listen, but we have to look and listen to hear what's positive. Many of us are frustrated. We've gone out, we've been out, we've done this, we've done that, and we don't always put our best forward, our foot best forward. In many of these cases, it's another date. Can't wait for it to be over. So before you even go, you already have these notions that things aren't going to be great. And therefore, as you prepare, you're not really happy. You know that in order to love someone else, one has to love themselves first. You really have to love in order to convey that to somebody else. And you have to be happy. Who wants to go with somebody on a date who feels that they've been through the roller coaster 15,000 times? And this is just another rung on the road. It's not easy. It's easier for me to say than for most people to do. And the reality is, you get to the house, and as soon as that door opens, research has found within the first 30 seconds, you make up your mind whether you want to go out or not. Okay? First 30 seconds, people make up their mind whether they want to go or not. And that's purely a judgment based on physicality. Again, somebody's going to show up to your house with a cross and other things that you have that I could hear. But many of us make our decision before we even go out. So we have 30 seconds with this person, and we're already making statements in our minds that, not for me. Not for me. Not for me. No. I could tell already. And therefore, the whole evening is ruined. The whole evening is miserable as we count down the time till we're able to go home. Right? I know a lot of doctors, some of my friends are doctors, they used to use their beeper. There are many ways to get out of dates, but point is, once you've gone out with this person, get to know this person to whatever level you want for multiple reasons. One, it's great experience. And many of us are afraid of showing who we really are. Many of us are just afraid. So it takes some time and whatever. But the first couple of times we meet somebody, we have this mask on. And it's an interesting mask, in my opinion. This is a mask that's not created by you, but this mask is a mask that you create an image that you think the other person wants you to be. Okay? So you've taken on, from your perception, even though you don't even know who this person is, you've adapted a totally different persona just because you think that this person's interested. Okay? I know certain people, certain women, nowadays it's changed, but certain women who are not into sports, when they found out that their prospective date was into sports, they read up every article as if they had sat in the stands and were there for the World Series, and they were there for a lot of different things. Very, 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 very important to be yourself. Because ultimately, yourself is who this person's going to be and who you will be with. If both sides are wearing masks, which happens in most cases, then you're getting to know a hypothetical of a hypothetical. A hypothetical of who you think they are, and they're thinking of who you are, and they're totally responding to things which are not relevant to what's going on. So it's not easy to let down your guard, especially if you're going in with the sense that, oh, it's another date, it's another one, here we go, let me try again, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. So first major point is you have to be happy with yourself. You have to be happy in order to share that with somebody else. If you walk in and somebody has this sour and miserable face, and you know the evening is over, right? You know the party's over, the game is over, and then you just elongate it. Spend time learning the other person. Use this person as an experience for yourself to understand yourself. From a psychological perspective, in many cases, we need to do introspect, who we are, and what we want out of life at different stages of life, hopefully are different. You know, as we age, or as we get a little older, we want a different type of a person to live with than we did when we were 19 and 20. And as a result of that, our expectations have to change. We're not 20 anymore. At least from looking around the room, I'm not 20 for sure. We're not 20, so therefore some of our expectations might be for a spouse to take care of you, somebody who you could talk to, somebody that you have a lot of commonality with. Whereas at certain ages, and for most people, it's the looks, and looks. And we don't get the chance to understand who that person is really behind that. But we don't give it a chance. So again, my point is, one, get to know another person, but before you do a good job with somebody else, the most important person you have to learn about is yourself. Because if you don't react, you don't understand your reactions, you might not be knowing what you're reacting to. And there are different stages. Just think about it. When you're at different ages, you have different requests, you have different needs, you want to accomplish different things. So, number two, how many of you think of your friends when you go on dates? That even if this person is not for me, maybe there could be somebody that I could set this person up with. Certain people say, no, it's not fair, I don't want to choose it, but the point is, you increase your circle of friends, you increase the amount of people that you will be able to go out with by working as friends and working as groups. Or even certain groups, we did a meeting in my house in Brooklyn of 15 women that would get together, and they would, no Lashon Hara was allowed, okay? But there was a group of 15 women that got together frequently, I don't know, how often? Monthly? Once a month, to review all of their dates, and anybody was anybody else. And they also shared, see, one thing that we have to do is share with others our feelings, and know that we're not in it alone. Yeah, there's something called the shidduch crisis. Nobody could argue that point, but my point is, we have an individual responsibility within this shidduch crisis, so-called, to resolve it for ourselves. Nobody else will truly resolve it for us other than ourselves. We have to be proactive. I know many of us are burnt out. Burnt out, okay? See, I got married much older. I got married in my 50s for the first time. Okay, so for many people, there's hope. They called me the great white hope in my shul. That people, we never give up. Simply, it's extremely important if you're going to come across as if you're burnt out, and it's natural to be burnt out. Anyway, similarly, I'm not a fan of going out with 5 different people at the same time. Or every night you have a different date. That's one of the greatest ways to hide. That's one of the greatest ways not to deal with yourself. That's one of the greatest ways not to deal with actually trying to get married. The important factor is, before you get married, is make sure you have a relationship. Well, I just want to share with you one quick story. When I was studying with another rabbi who was Hasidic, he says, "You're going on a date?" I said, "Yes, I'd like to get to know who my wife is." He says, "What are you kidding? Why are you wasting your time?" I said, "So, you are married with 6 kids." He says, "Yeah. I was learning in the Beis Medrash. My father called me up. He told me I had to meet a girl for a half hour. Then I was engaged." Okay, then I was engaged. It works in their community to a degree, if that's what your expectations are, but gradually the amount of divorce is growing within those communities. Okay? A lot of marriages are made through relatives, friends. Anybody who wants to set you up, let them know who you are and the type of person you might be interested in. But before you do any of this, one of my major ideas is get to know yourself and get to know who you want at that point. Because if you're going to be conveying certain messages, I remember going out, oh, you're male and she's female? Oh, perfect shidduch. Perfect shidduch. You know, people have to be clear to a certain degree of who you are and what you are and what you're interested and who you're interested in. Now, what percentage of this audience has been married before? Okay, so we have a large percentage of people who are married, one married. Okay, mazel tov. All right, I'll tell you a very, very interesting story about that. I'm a psychologist in practice. I do family and couples therapy, and there are certain couples who you know really should not be in the same room together, let alone married to each other. Okay, I'll be very, very honest with you. You see certain couples, you work your hardest to try to resolve the issues, but they don't belong. I don't know how stressed or whatever, what medicines they were on before they got married or whatever was taking place. So it bothered me at certain times that they were seeking, ultimately that they would get divorced. And I said, oh, from a Jewish perspective. And then I learned, Chafetz Chaim says something which is, I think, very, very beautiful. He writes, the very fact that the Torah gave you an option of a get of a divorce shows the fact that there are times when a divorce is appropriate. Nobody has to spend the rest of their life miserable. However, that doesn't mean you stop living. You don't just turn off that spigot. And many of us have gone through where we've been hurt very badly by people. So we don't want to open ourselves up, and therefore we turn off that spigot. If you don't feel negative or positive, or you don't feel, it's very hard to be in a relationship. Because in many cases, you're purely in an intellectual relationship, or you are in a relationship where the person met all the checks that were required in the box. And I've seen that very, very frequently. Even among young kids, the person meets the criteria, I hate her guts. She hates my guts. But you know what? They meet the qualifications. They'll bring a nice baby into the world. And that's not the relationship that we are hoping for. However, we are inundated on TV, videos. Now you could watch almost anything that you want on your iPhone. We're inundated with all these romantic things. Romance has to be this, swept away in the air, and blah, blah, blah. And you have to go on a special vacation to Bali or to some other location. And the reality is, that's not definitely real life every single day. The commitment is a commitment for every day. It's not as if you're going to be going all over the world every day. It's not as if you have to share only happy. Part of all of these relationships is both happy and sad. So we have to have the ability on our own to be able to tolerate. Again, feelings. Feelings are extremely important. We can have most insights from a psychologist. Many people have the greatest insights while they're doing things, but they don't integrate it into their behavior. So, oh, I know this, I know that, I know whatever there is, but they don't put it together. And you see certain people that are extremely bright. I remember I used to do singles groups. And these people were professionals, highly trained professionals. However, when it came to talking to the opposite gender, they were tongue-tied, they were nervous, they held their hands in their pants, right? Or they hung out as wallflowers against the wall. And So we did role play, and one of the things that I used to do with them, make believe, to be honest with you, make believe this is a patient that you have to go talk to and do an interview. I wanted to take some of their skills that they had learned in other areas and put it, and it works. And it works, but you have to let your guard down. And they're interesting now enough, just for medical schools are not only recruiting people by their grades, they're also looking for a mensch. So it's not just somebody has a 4.5 index, somebody has this. Similarly, when we go out, we really need to know who and what we're interested in, who we're interested in being with. 10 times the amount of people that are not here are home miserable and lonely. And they're not being proactive, they are being reactive, or they're just hanging out and hanging out. So again, my point is get to know yourself before you get to know others. Don't look for that magical bashert. If you miss them, there are many others on the way. Don't feel that life is passing you by, but be happy. The happiest people stand the greatest chance of meeting somebody. People that are miserable, cranky, no smile, and burnt out. And we could understand reasons for every single one of our reactions. But guess what? It's not helping you. Know yourself, be happy, think of others. In Hebrew, this is a statement that says, "Hamispalo b'yad chavero, v'hu tzarich lo oso davar, hu nene tchila." If you are interested in something, and you know your friend is, and you pray for your friend, I'll just give you an example from one case that I heard. It's actually my wife. My wife is here. She and a friend were, my wife Esther is here. She and a friend were both single. And they went to somebody who told them they should say Shir HaShirim 40 days straight. Am I correct?
Hi. So I first got married for the first time to my husband when I was in my 40s. And it was a big accomplishment. But during all those years, many people gave me many different segulot to do to bring it faster. And I tried lots of different things. And the clincher is someone had asked me to find a friend who was also single, and we should daven for each other for 40 days, and in the hope that our prayers would be answered. And I found a friend, and I said to her, let's both say Shir HaShirim for 40 days for each other. And she said, okay, I'll do it. I said, okay, I'll start tomorrow morning. And she said to me, would you mind if I waited like 2 weeks to start for you? Because I'm about to go on vacation, and I don't want any responsibility on my vacation. And I said, sure, no problem. So I started right away, and I did my 40 days. She came home, she called me and said, I'm starting tomorrow for you. And on the 40th night was our Vart. That was very exciting.
So we pray for somebody else, and it's a true story. We're not bringing apocryphal stories or Kabbalistic stories and stuff like that. Thank you very much.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to JEM, To Jim, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.